Before I became a mom here in Canada, I genuinely thought the hardest part was going to be the winters, the snow, the cold, the learning how to dress up in layers like it's a part-time job. I was wrong. The hardest part has actually been figuring out how to raise my children in a culture that is so different from the one I grew up in. And I'm 18 years into this now. I've raised my kids here. They're 10 years old. I've watched them grow into who they are. And along the way, I've learned some things nobody sat me down and warned me about. So today, I just want to talk to you about that. No script perfect answers, just what's actually been true for me. If you're new here, hi, my name is Christina Odio. I've been in Canada for 18 years now, raising my twins and trying really, really hard to hold on to the values that shaped me growing up in Kenya. I want to say this clearly before we go any further. This is not a video about one culture being better than the other. It's not Africa is good, Canada is bad, or the other way around. That's not what this is. This is just me being honest about what it has actually felt like to parent across two worlds and the lessons that have come out of it so far. Sometimes the hard way, and sometimes, well, it's mostly the hard way. Okay, let's get into it. They're growing up in two cultures, whether I planned for it or not, something I didn't fully expect, even though looking back, it makes complete sense. It's how naturally my kids would absorb the Canadian culture. And that's not because I have taught them that they need to do this the Canadian way. It's just from school, from friends, from being at birthday parties, watching what other families do, picking up little phrases and habits without even realizing they're doing it. And then at home, I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to hand them the things I grew up with, the respect for elders, the way we greet people, our food, our music, the proverbs my mother used to teach me, and just those African things I grew up with. So really, my children are living in two cultures at once, and most of the time, they're moving between without thinking twice. I hope that explains it. For me, it's beautiful to watch, but it doesn't happen automatically. It takes actual conversations, sitting down and saying, okay, what's the Canadian way of doing it? But in our home, here is why we do it differently. Otherwise, they'll just absorb whatever's around them by default. And I did not want everything to be by default. Society isn't going to raise your kids the way you would. This one took me a while to really sit with. Living here taught me that I cannot outsource the job. I cannot assume school or TV or the culture around us is going to instill the values I care about. If I want my children to grow up with faith, with kindness, with respect, honesty, those things have to come from inside our home. On purpose, repeated, modeled. It's not that Canadian culture doesn't have these good values. It absolutely does. But the specific values I want at the center of how my kids see the world, that's my job. Nobody else is going to do it for me. And once I accepted that, parenting got a little less stressful because I stopped expecting outside forces to fill in the gaps that were really mine to fill. My kids will adapt faster than I will, and that's okay. Here is something that is so humbling. My children are often quicker to understand new ways of thinking than I am. They'll come home with a perspective on something or a way of explaining how their friends' families do. And I'll realize they got there before I did. For a long time, I think that scared me a little. Like, am I losing them somehow? Are they becoming more this and less that? But I've now shifted how I see it. Now, when that happens, I treat it as an invitation, a chance to sit with them and actually talk about it instead of shutting it down. Sometimes I learn something from them. Sometimes I get to explain my side and they understand it. Either way, it's connection, not conflict. I just had to stop being afraid of it. There is no perfect parent, and I had to let myself off that hook. I want to really be truthful with you on this one. I have made mistakes, plenty of them. There have been nights where I've lay in bed replaying a conversation with one of the children and thinking, I handled that wrong. I should have said it differently. But the lesson I keep coming back to is this: showing up matters more than being perfect. Showing up with love, showing up with consistency, even when I'm tired and I don't feel like being consistent. Showing up with humility, being willing to go back to my kids and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's talk about that again. That has done more for our relationship than any perfectly worded parenting moment ever could. My faith has carried me through the parts I couldn't carry alone. This is probably the most important lesson out of all of them. There have been seasons of parenting that genuinely overwhelmed me. Moments where I did not know what to do or say, where the cultural gap felt wide, where I felt like I was figuring it out completely on my own. And in those moments, my faith has been the thing that reminded me I'm not actually doing this alone. Prayer has given me wisdom I didn't have on my own. It has given me patience on days I had none left. It has given me peace in seasons that otherwise would have felt impossible to get through. I don't think I could separate my parenting from my faith, even if I tried. They're kind of woven together at this point. Raising my twins here in Canada as a mom who grew up in Kenya, Africa, has honestly been one of the biggest blessings of my life, and also one of the biggest classrooms I have ever stepped into. I'm still learning. I don't think that part ever really stops. If you're walking a similar road, raising kids between two cultures, two countries, two sets of expectations, I'd love to hear from you. What is one lesson parenting has taught you that, that you didn't expect? Drop it in the comments. I read each and every single one. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this all the way through. Please trust God. Take it one step at a time. And I will see you in the next video.